Yeah, gold is the only thing up today, and I will tell you, there is a growing demand for formerly obscure elements, rare earth metals.
Like Kruger
we talked about. No, not Krugerrands.
I love those.
Talking about like lithium and gallium and germanium and the vitamins of chemistry that we talked about. We had a guy on the air with us a couple weeks ago named Don Bubar. Don Bubar is the president and CEO of a company called Avalon Advanced Metals. I beg your pardon, Avalon Advanced Materials.
Yeah.
And they are publicly traded here in the U.S. under the stock symbol AVLNF. AVLNF. And what was interesting, it was part of the China trade wars. Was it China said, China, who I think mines 78% of these precious metals, said, hey, we're going to pull back if you don't, and by the way, this is what makes your phone screen. This is what makes a lot of stuff.
All those weird
We
parts.
had so many people call and email us after he was on the air, we thought we'd bring him back. Don, thanks so much for taking some more time with us. I appreciate it.
Good to be back.
Welcome back.
You didn't realize you were so popular. See, you knew you were going to be popular a long time ago, didn't you? You didn't realize it was happening. Because I would argue that you saw something before other people saw something, didn't you? And people are saying, why do you care about rare earth metals, right?
Well, a lot of people forgot about them for a few years, but we never forgot about them. We knew they were going to have another day, and here we are.
Yeah, and here you are. And
just hold on to them.
And frankly, it seems to work for you guys. Talk about a little bit, because there is an ever-growing demand for these formerly obscure elements. Now, when you say rare earth, they're not as rare as gold and silver, but they're difficult to mine, and I think they're all very critical materials needed for clean and efficient energy, for aerospace, for medicine.
So what makes them so hard to find?
For jumbotrons?
Yes.
This is what, talk about that a little bit. Talk about what they are, Don.
Yeah, so they're not very uncommon in nature, but the supply chains just haven't been created because there hasn't been that much demand compared to traditional commodities like copper and gold. And the Chinese had an advantage years ago in creating that supply chain for rare earths in terms of a lower cost structure, partly because they didn't maybe take as much consideration of the environmental impacts as we do in the West. But nevertheless, they established that supply chain, and now there's still no supply chain outside of China. Huh. And while they're in the ground in lots of places, including in North America and the United States, it's all about how you process that material and refine them to turn them into the high purity derivative products that can then be used in the end use applications, such as high strength permanent magnets.
So you find it like a vein of gold. You find a vein of whatever the heck.
Yeah, that's right. A vein of something.
Litmus or whatever.
Well, I mean, is it a vein of lithium? Is it a vein of scandium or cesium? Is it like how do you find them? Are they within other?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, they occur in certain geological environments, but they tend to be in much larger masses of rock compared to a narrow gold vein.
Yeah.
So that's what makes them less uncommon than gold in terms of how to find them, where to find them in economic quantities. Like I was saying, it's not so much finding the resources as it is what you have to do to get the elements of interest out of that rock and turned into the derivative product that can be used in industry. And that's where the challenge is. And I think if the United States was to provide some leadership in creating the downstream refining processing capacity, other companies like us could kind of start to provide more of the material out of the ground, the primary extraction, preliminary processing, to provide them with the semi-processed materials to then turn into the refined products.
Mm-hmm. I've got to say, is it your opinion, I'm not going to ask you the political here, but I want to ask you, is it your opinion that North America should take the lead in clean technology materials development so we're not so dependent, is the reason that we're not so dependent on places like China? Is that one of the reasons, or is it just because it's a responsible thing to do?
Well, I think it's partly because of both, but basically there's way more demand than there is supply now, and China's just been pretty smart about it actually in recognizing the long-term trends here for growing demand for these materials, and have been systematically trying to tie up as much of the available supply as they can. and are hanging on to it for their own internal use. And right now with rare earths, they don't even have enough to meet their own internal demand, and they're starting to look for new sources of supply of rare earths outside China.
Don Bubar's with Avalon.
To react to that.
Don Bubar, Avalon Advanced Materials. You can go to avalonadvancedmaterials.com, and they are publicly traded, AVLNF. I'm going to ask you, if the trade war escalated again, what happens if this supply chain is threatened? How bad is it, or what would it affect?
Well, we've got a real problem because you can't just create these supply chains overnight. It takes years to do this. This is why now we're kind of getting a warning that we should get on it and start creating them now, so there isn't that risk of this trade war getting bigger and impacting us in bigger ways.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Don, thank you so much. We are definitely going to have you back.
I wonder how much I got just back here behind us. I mean,
Just in the dirt in the garden. I know.
I'm gonna give up this.
Check out their website. Lots of great stuff there.
Dig it.
And of course, they are publicly traded. Go check them out.